All right. Giuseppe Lalassi Ayasi. That feeling when the insistence is on material, baby. An insistence on material, volume 1. Yo. New avenues, new territories of concrete to explore. Really digging that guy. Very much enjoying hyper digital concrete. I definitely got to check out volume 2 as well. Hope everyone is doing swell. We back at it. Monday night's edition. Looks like a little light one today. We got 3 tracks to check out, but first some housekeeping and maybe more submissions as we go, but who knows? Wanted to get 3 in today. This is your last week to get your shit together for the monthly project series, and this will be our first public monthly project series with a guest artist, and we have the wonderful and illustrious Maria Chavez joining us live next week as a guest faculty member, if you want to call it, in our group critiques, and they will be giving their feedback to you directly on your monthly projects. And just a reminder once again, the project is DJ Software's experimental interface of musical expression, and you will be using a DJ software of your choice to create a piece of digital abstract turntablism, a live piece that will utilize found sound and pre-made recordings, not your own recordings. Find them out in the wild to create a piece of original work of live concrete. It'll be fun. It'll be a lot of great old times. Maria's super sweet, obviously very insightful, and I'm looking forward to chatting with her and letting y'all ask her questions as well. Secondly, we have an in-person event coming up, both hybrid in-person and online, 3-part workshop starting at the end of this month. That will be our field recording field trip series for anybody in the New York tri-state area. That will take place on November 22nd and December 6th and December 20th. All 3 of those are Saturdays. And I hosted this once last year in the city. We went all over New York in a van, in the 5 boroughs, or at least 3 of them 5 boroughs that day. But we're going to be doing this into a more formal sort of lecture first part, talking about sound walks, field recordings, various histories of composers practicing sort of creative strategies out in the field, both as sort of sample hunters as well as acoustic ecologists and tape music composers. And then the second day, on the 6th, December 6th, we will be meeting in lovely Poughkeepsie at the end of the Metro North train for those coming from New York City. And we will be doing an entire afternoon excursion of field recording. But I welcome those that aren't able to come to New York directly to still register for this and to sort of follow the prompts wherever you may be, to make a day out of it. So as long as you do that, and then we're all going to use our collected materials to create an original work, utilizing strictly these field recordings and how we process them. And then we'll meet back up on Saturday the 20th for a group critique dedicated strictly to talking about these projects that we worked on together. So it'll be a lot of fun. Like I said, don't have to be in New York, tri-state area proper for you to participate. The more the merrier. Should be a blast. Should be fun, though I very much enjoy doing the in-person stuff, and I would love to see y'all IRL as much as I do URL. Yeah, I mean, please come on up. Come on up. All right. Well, once again, our Group Critique Fight Club presented to you all by our good friends at Tape Trade. Sign up for Tape Trade. Got ourselves a free link in the description when I post the podcast recording after the fact. No data scraping, lossless in-browser playlisting encoder for your own original files for sharing and streaming, downloading and streaming. Good people. Thank you very much once again to our homies at Tape Trade for providing some infrastructural support and powering our little shindig we got going on here. All right, we got music. I'm looking forward to hearing some. Let's get to it. Opening up on my end, starting with our good friend Breath Play. We got ourselves, Oblique versus If You Know, You Know. And I don't know yet, but I'm assuming I will soon enough. Let us get started then, shall we? Yes. I couldn't tell. I guess I'm not. If I don't know, I'll never know. I mean, I could. We could hear. We could hear music, straightforwardly, underneath this. And I think that like much of this is there's is obvious sort of study here in pulse, uh, and straightforwardly so. Sort of maintaining this ducking. It's not even a study in pulse. It's a study in like duct pulse. It actually hearing this sort of four to the floor, sort of sucking the air out of every quarter note. It very much sort of like embodies trance in a literal sense, less so musical genre here, and that's something that we come across a lot, is sort of the entrancing elements of ambient and minimal music, oftentimes more trance-like than trance music itself. But I mean, I think this is the question is not whether you're effectively applying these effects, because you are, but I mean, but whether you want there to be any sort of arc to this beyond the ducking and the occasional sort of filtering, because otherwise we're kind of just in this one zone of like heavily saturated, muffled pulse, varying stages of saturation occurring here, creatively so. But it's one zone, and if that's the goal here, is to just sort of create over the course of six minutes or so, sort of just establishing this one zone and not feeling the need to create a trajectory beyond just existing in this space, then you've done that. But I think it's more just about like whether or not there needs to be change or it justifies. You wrote, well, that is the question. If you look at my Discord statement, this is like the home listening version of this blend. And then in a DJ set, there's more dynamic version I could do. Got you. Yes, every zone is a cloud. Okay, so this is the home listening version. Then I understand. What I was hearing this more as a sort of electroacoustic composition, rather than dance music in that way. Like we're utilizing elements of dance music as sort of a vehicle for tape music or for process music. But due to its sort of singular minimal nature, I mean, again, there are plenty of minimal club artists that, we were just talking about Basic Channel yesterday, and they talk about pulse. Sometimes there's a complete lack thereof and just texture on one side of the A side of that, or rather the B side, and maybe the A side is a clubbier one. So it's not that it would be out of the ordinary for there to be like for this to sort of play that role as the more experimental home listen versus the more spinnable, danceable DJ version. Yes, okay, so Oblique is indeed a track on a Basic Channel sublabels. Okay, there we go. I mean, like, this is we're in that zone here. Okay, so then it makes sense to me, that you're creating like an A and B side here, and this is the home version of it, which is less about movement in the literal sense, but also like dynamic range of danceability in a DJ set version, but more the seated the seated version versus the standing version. And this plays its role as the seated version. Now, that being said, like, I think it would be cool to lay into more of a sort of disintegrated textural sort of, if we're able to lose the kick at a certain point and just be left with the amorphous sort of padded harmonies that we're hearing like in the background. You know, if we were to create distance potentially, because everything is just like right up here right now dynamically, and I feel like it would be nice to like potentially find our way towards the pulse, or maybe we start in the pulse and slowly drift away from it towards a more just textural zone. Different ideas here as far as movement and trajectory of the piece, unless your goal is like a la Basic Channel and just minimal, to just like remain where you are, you know, which is its own thesis, its own creative choice. I guess it's subject to change as you're creating this, but just curious what those what the goals could potentially be here. Writing interesting right now. It starts beatless for a couple minutes, but you would rather it end that way. I mean, it's I don't know. Part of me was feeling like the pulse is really my takeaway of this, but maybe that's because of the shape of it now. It really ends in the pulse, but part of me is feeling like if we started there and then like disintegrated it further or more exaggerated in the sound design and oversaturating, exaggerating that side of things by the end. If regardless, like finding a bit, if you're looking for a trajectory here, a sort of somewhat dynamic or compositional shift, I feel like that just needs to be more clear one way or the other. My question would be, are we coming out of the clouds or are we going into them? Yes. Every zone is a cloud. Are we staying in the cloud? Are we leaving it? Are we entering it? These are good questions. Amazing. I want to hear the A and the B back to back. Next week, the A side, or have we already heard it? Is this a companion to a previous one? In the set, I'll be putting this in a peak cloud, and then it dissipates for some very clear ambient. Got you. All right. We got 2 more today. We got a new participant, JB. All I Wanted, the Paramore flip. What do they write on the Discord? This is how I make my music as JB Glazer. This one goes down well at shows. Made using Rekordbox, but currently using a cracked Tractor 3. All right. So live flips, live spinning. I like this. Welcome, JB. I know JB was stoked about the project with Maria Chavez, so I'm looking forward to what you got for that. All right. All I Wanted, Paramore flip. Let's hit it. Yeah. This is what I'm talking about. Sounds like this person is meant to be participating in the monthly project here. We're it's just really surprising to me that there aren't more sound artist types, electroacoustic types, experimental types, taking full advantage just of the DJ software as a performance apparatus, period. You know, I feel like there's just a big disconnect. I know there is in a lot of academic circles, especially the suit and tie electroacoustic world, as we might call them, the uptown nerds. There's a disconnect between like even Cajun sort of tape music traditions, let alone concrete, and turntablisms. You know, like in the origins of this, it was much easier to set, you know, put up your blinders as I work with reel-to-reel tapes and I cut and paste them together and splice them together, or I work with phonographs and I break them into pieces and I create, you know, hiccups and loops, and I utilize the needle and the wheel of the turntable itself as its own sort of physical mechanical device. And you know, there was separation in that way. But it's like now we're all using digital devices, you know? So like whether it's fucking Ableton or Max MSP or fucking Serato, oftentimes where the end result is experimental, you know, improvised left field performance, you know? And yeah, like what Breathplay is saying, it really is stigma. I mean, like there's just still a disconnect because of genre. But if we were to put those aside and to realize that like a MIDI controller and a CDJ and a laptop, like these are all three instruments that could pull off similar things depending on what type of performer you are, and the utilization of two decks with God knows how many digital effects you can add on each, with a mixer in the middle, and just the ability to recall, you know, deck one and deck two in parallel, one or the other, to utilize loops on one, as we heard here. It's just like the perfect combo. I had a project for a while called Alp Dog that I would perform with virtual DJ in like the early 2010s, and I would do exactly this, where I would pick one song, like it could be a pop song, it could be like a solo piano, like classical piece, it could be a jazz piece. Exactly, what's Alp Dog? Exactly, that's exactly why it's called that. And I would just, you know, load the same song, very similar to Grandmaster Flash, using the same record on left and right and creating an infinite loop of rewinding one and playing the other, and then going back to the other one, rewinding the opposite. Utilizing two decks with the same song and recalling different points digitally, sort of like with the Scrabble, and creating loops on the left and the right, and utilizing the crossfade to create these oftentimes, you know, rhythmic phasing patterns of two different points in the same song, looped back to back, left to right, in some interesting sort of pattern. And that's exactly what's going on here, utilizing the Paramore sample. I think it would be nice to have just as much space as you did at the beginning, where you were sort of starting and restarting and, you know, scrobbling back and restarting at that. I would love to hear more of that in the middle after we fully developed tonally what is happening. I would love for some like long reverb tails and be like, creating these like zhuzh in, you fade up, stop it, hold it, let it dissipate, like finding these like very extreme peaks rather than just creating the constant of loop. How do we break out of it? You just have like full capabilities here, not only looping and doing a single crossfade, but like individual faders as well. I think it's, creating a fade into a long delay and reverb tail and then immediately fade out and just letting that tail dissipate on its own. It can be a really lovely gesture. And maybe you're only doing that on one deck while the other is creating this more saturated drone loop of the phrase, all I wanted was you, with the drums, like slowly filtering in as you did there. I just think it would be really cool to like have like a more sputtering, human, less mechanical, really take advantage of your hands on the fader, like make this a physical performance. That's what I love about Maria's work, and obviously using like vinyl turntable, abstract turntablism, is just how important it is for like where she places her hands as the record like kind of rotates around, and like the importance of jogging the wheel ever so gently and creating these little nuanced changes by hands, or just like a little flick of the fader on the mixer. It's just like, this is the type of music and interface that like should be hands on deck at all times, but really lovely stuff. And again, like what Kareem said in the chat, like a great testament, genuinely very impressive to get this much out of such a distinctive single sample. I think that's a cool challenge that you might want to take on with the monthly project, is just like, what if I only used one recording and 2 decks? Like, how much could I get out of that? And then it's not just about you as a performer, but classic DJ sort of conundrum is like you as a curator, right? It's not about making a set list like a DJ, but rather just like, what's the one track I can use here that will like, I can get a lot out of, it's a hard question to think about. I had a piece with the Alp Dog project that I used just arabesques by Claude Debussy on the piano, and it's just like a perfect piece of piano music, and it's just so like cascading consonants, sympathetic consonants at every point in the piece. So it didn't matter where random moments I picked to create little loops and fragments, I knew that it would harmonize and make a unique pattern compared to some other random moment in the track, because it's just like such a beautiful resonant piece and sympathetic in harmony, and that's like that's like not a overthinking it. It's just like, what's great fucking music that I know that like finding any moment to sample live without even necessarily like queuing it up, just like clicking here in this moment, I know I can get something interesting out of. That's a safe bet. Doing Arabesque by Claude Debussy would be a safe bet for that. So, it's like, think about that. Where could your safe bets be? Maybe it's another fucking Paramore song. This is awesome though, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what JB has to offer for the monthly project. Kareem writes, dope smoker on 2 decks, playing 10 seconds apart with different delay time signatures on the decks. Yes, exactly. Just stacking the doom. And then why not? Let's just slow it down 25% too, and add some verb on it as well. Might as well like slow and reverb that out, as well as doubling 10 seconds apart from each other, but rhythmically fully aligned. Yes, absolutely. With a 1% tempo difference. Okay, so we got a 75% playback on one and a 74 on the other. Pitch locked though. They are resonant to each other, but now we're creating doomed phasing between the two. Yes. Toggling the pitch shift on and off. Oh my god. Now we're getting binaural. We're getting beating occurring amongst the hertz here. We're getting microtonal dope smoker by Sleep. Slowed and reverbed microtonal dope smoker. That's what the doctor has prescribed, apparently. Hey, what's stopping you from doing that for your monthly project? Once again, participate. You got 1 week. You got 1 week to make something happen for that. I'm looking forward to the results. All right. We got one more today, unless someone miraculously joins us last minute and adds to the pile. We got something from Kareem. Kareem, once again, working in my private teaching studio earlier today, setting themselves up in the studio for a afternoon session that culminates in a recording. And this is it's a live single take, Kareem, or is it multi-tracked? I know it was all made today, but if it's multi-tracked, single take, you let us know. Let's listen to it. Caller. And I'm not hearing anything. Where'd it go, Kareem? Oh, there we go. It's just started late. Yeah. I'm loving this in the chat. Lots of skin crawly overtone, dissonance. Does he jid? Yeah, he do. What if you had 5 delays at once? Needs more delay. Music for toads. Music for toads. Well, hey, this is another addition to our continued research into the phenomenon of wet music. Toads are moist animals, you know. Toads need to remain wet. Their skin must remain slimy. It's just a fact. It's science. Don't ask me why. Science. Ask science. No, I mean you're once again, this is an exercise for you in you know, completing a work in an afternoon, an amphibious tune for sure. My question is just like, you know, tonally we have a few different patterns, some of which, you know, there's intended dissonance here, but like within reason. You know, it's not microtonal, but there, you know, there's some like Breathplay said, like overtone dissonance here. But I think that, like, yes, this feels very amphibious. The opening is in fact very dry. Interesting. Okay, I like that. So we start dry and we continue to accumulate moisture as it continues on. My thought is just thinking from the tonal perspective of this. If we want to have dissonance, that's fine, but I think it should just be more. I think we should just like expand beyond loops here. And I know that you're working with various accoutrements electronically, hardware wise, finding a way to expand to like freer, not necessarily like free improv in a way that like is like losing the rhythmic value here, but handmade, seemingly random, expanding the octave range, you know, like creating more exaggerated leaps in dissonance, not just within a single register, but finding ways, you know, like ba 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 ba, like we're having this one little thing that jumps, right? But I would love to just like hear different tones on that passage alone spread between like 4 octaves rather than the singular, or rather than just the, you know, the one jump there. And then thinking about like we're hearing everything as sort of semi-rhythmic or, you know, straightforwardly rhythmic loops here. And like what can we do like as like, you know, percussive elements as well. So like countering that with polyphony, longer tone polyphony as well, you know, like it'd be really interesting to just hear like just some squelching, amorphous, dissonant FM, you know, like all 5 fingers held down in some very strange tone cluster that's just beginning to go like, you know, like just collision of FM frequencies happening at once. Just like continue to add to this, you know, amphibious nature of this, and creating more of the, you know, laying into exaggerated dissonance to the point where it's just kind of croaking. Hey, toads croaking. There you go. You're writing there. Definitely agree. Part I'm trying to work out is these ideas to evolve while controlling everything myself. I really want to be able to push this rig into a more human territory. I mean, I think you're definitely doing that, but it's like distinguishing between what can be pre-programmed fully and just sequenced and let it go, and you decide like when it comes in and when it comes out, but otherwise you kind of let it do its thing on its own, versus like what requires your hands, you know, on the wheel, you know. I mean, I know you have keys and they're controlling something else, but it would be really nice to like utilize the keys as they're meant to be played, you know, over some sort of synthesized patch or something that's like much more clearly like hand played without sequencer. It's just you, and we won't hear it unless you're playing it on the keys, you know, in a more traditionally live sense. Yeah, needing to play play the samples manually. That's a great idea. That's a great idea. And you could, if you're spreading it out from key to key to key, like I know with the software you're using, you're able to sort of like split and chop across like however many keys you want through the MIDI device, or at least 12 or whatever. To create sample and hold functions per each chop, like really explore it's going to be dissonant no matter what, but like the textural sort of abstraction of performing both live keys through a strong sampling engine like the one that you're using from Slate and Nash on your sampler patch. Josh writes, sounds like you're describing something, the way to track like a piece land evolves over like 8 minutes. I'm less familiar with that one. I'm not sure. But I mean, like, ultimately, this is a short piece, that was done as an exercise. But I mean, like, if the form here is like bring in the loops, then what it should just be, like over the course of 3 minutes or whatever, is bring in the loops early like you did, and then improvise over it, and then fade out. Just like, it's okay. It doesn't need to develop beyond that for the sake of doing these sorts of, this is a cloud. We've entered a zone, right? There's nothing wrong with that here. I just think that like it needs like whatever it is, seemingly human sort of interface to juxtapose the otherwise mostly sequence loop-based sort of stuff, right? Contrasting between repetitive in a mechanical quantized sense, dissonant or otherwise, and then it's also a constant thing. It's something that's just in repetition, in motion throughout, right? Versus something by hand that is more traditionally a gestural instrument rather than a generative instrument, and then like play us out with that, not overthinking it here. I think it's cool that we kind of are like introduced to these spaces. The music that you're making here is obviously very evocative of physical space, and we've talked about this. And so very much like our homie Bryson on the Sunday live streams does, where creating these sort of speculative spaces, and it's not really meant to change. It's just like a sort of glimpse into this one evocation of a physical space, and then we're done, right? You could just be creating a series of spaces with these studies, and this is just happens to be one of them. But I still think that like it would be nice to sort of be accompanying the generative elements with a live gestural handmade element. But it doesn't need to be like a dynamic arc towards something larger, or starting small and ending big, or vice versa. I kind of enjoy the dynamic stagnancy of this. Just add the contrast of the generative stuff with something more gestural and handmade. That would be my only thought of changing this or adding to this, because I wouldn't subtract from this. I'm thinking of something else, something that can go on top of this. But if part of the practice for you is doing this all live, then it's also, like, what do I do in the moment? What choices do I make? What do I delegate to be pre-programmed and sequenced and looped, versus like, what do I leave blank and do entirely live in the moment, improvised by hand? And that's its own practice, It's worth practicing this. You got a whole setup in the studio of hardware. It's not just one sampler. This is all, you've created a mecha suit. I've used this analogy before. You created a Gundam. A Gundam doing a hardware set is performing on a Gundam, and the mixer is like the brain, but each part of it is just like one element. Or, maybe Robotech. Is Robotech the one where they combine like 4 people, 5 people together into one? Or is that Gundam too? I don't even fucking know. Transformers. Pick your mecha suit analogy here. Yeah. Piloting the EVA. That is the Mac Mini. Exactly. Exactly. Zone of Enders. That's a deep cut. That's a deep cut. Drift compatible with the CDJ. Good shit. Good shit. Has anyone else submitted this evening? No. Oh, a light evening. Oh, well. I was going to present... I'm working on some new processed field recording stuff, but I don't have anything bounced right now, so I'm not going to share it. Maybe after next week, after our presentations with Maria. So, once again, reminding y'all, get on that a week from today. Maria Chavez live on the stream with us, listening to your monthly projects and discussing them. This is grad school, y'all. We getting some cool ass people involved, but everything that we got going on here, $5 grad school. If y'all are into this shit, please support what I do. Sign up for the Patreon, patreon.com/Parrotsky. If you want to take private instruction, I got plenty of folks here who can vouch for me. I know what I'm doing. Hit me up. LamimYoung@gmail.com. Shoot me an email. We'll figure it out. Register for our field recording field trip at the end of November through December. It's going to be a lot of fun out in Hudson Valley / wherever you are in the world. And yeah, stay tuned for more fun stuff from the Group Critique Fight Club. Wonderful stuff this evening. Love the small groups. Love the small groups just as much as I love the large groups, you know? Gives me more time to eat. Eating afterwards. Your boy is hungry. I punish myself for you. Anyways, y'all. Lovely, lovely stuff. Work on your monthly projects, and I will see you next week. Have a good one. Bye-bye.